This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so in last session, just we discussed about so why we need to use LWC. Already we have ARA. The main reason is they're making use of the native web stack from our browser engines are there. Whatever the standard features supported by those browser engines, they are making use of those. On top of that, they have developed Lightning Web Components so that the performance of the Lightning Web Components are more faster when compared to ARA. That's the main reason. And so mainly they are using HTML5 and JavaScript version ECMAScript 7. So that is the version they are using. So here we also discussed about some of the basics. You can go to this website and see the basics, just terminology. So what is directive? Directive means dynamically we represent like this. This is directive. And decorator. Decorator is like annotation which we used in Apex. Slots and some of the concepts already we discussed yesterday. You can go to this website and see all those basics. And after that, we can also play in the playground. There is a playground where we can write LWC component logic and see the result and do some POC. And once you get some results, whatever you are expecting, you can copy paste and create the component in the whatever the arg you are working sandbox. So it's like that. Okay, let me show you quickly. So to open that, you need to bookmark one of the website called Lightning Component Library from Salesforce. In this website, if you click on Playground, you'll see like this. Here, just we added some simple logic yesterday. This is the UI, and this is the JS logic. Just we discussed about the properties. Here, the variables we call as properties. If you see here, this is one of the variable. We also call as properties. There are variables like the properties like reactive properties and non-reactive properties. And also by default, properties are private. And also public properties means there is one more decorator called @API. When we use @API, that will become as public so that from other components also they can access that property and supply the value. That we'll see going forward. So by default it is private. So when you go with this JSON object, this JavaScript object or array, when you go with such kind of data types, by default those are non-reactive private properties. Non-reactive properties, if you want to make as reactive, we have to use @track. So what is that non-reactive? Non-reactive means even though there is a change in the value. Suppose say I have removed this and here I'm changing value. Even though I change the value here it is reflecting. Here the value is coming up here. But this is again not reflecting on the UI. So same property we're referring on the UI. But to here it is not reflecting. The reason is by default it is non-reactive. To make it as reactive, we have to use one of the annotation called @track, so that from this can make this as reactive. So now if I type something, Okay, so it is responding, it is reflecting and showing on the UI. So this we discussed. So same thing, let's see how we can deploy and use and continue with the other small topics. Let's copy this. Let's create the Lightning Web Component. We can only create the Lightning Web Component from the VS Code. Creating from developer console is not possible. That we should understand. Now from here I'm creating. So I believe all of you know about the VS Code. If any one of you, if you don't know how to use VS Code, so please let me know. Anyone is having any problem on using VS Code? So I'm assuming that all of you know about how you can use VS Code. Okay, so VS Code.
Hey, Srinu, sorry, yeah. So yesterday I think you covered one example. So this is my first session. So can you go from the basics of the program? Maybe one more program today.
Yeah, anyway, see, I'm going to explain the basics in first two sessions. Today also I'm going to explain. This maybe I'll share that yesterday's session. Okay, if you did not attend. Okay. Again, if I repeat the same thing, people get bored. And also, that as part of the demo, I have to show something, some advanced example also.
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead. Yep, sorry. Yep.
But high level to understand, just a small logic we added. The main thing is, as part of the Lightning Web Component, the dynamic expressions we give like this. If you see value equal to, we give like this. Same thing in the RR Visual Force, we give like this. Here, we don't do like that. Here, no double quotes, no exclamatory symbol. So this representation technically we call as directive. So where is this? So that is there in the JS file. This is a template. So by default, whenever you create any Lightning Web component, system will generate. So here this we call as a module, and this is a class. Here in the latest JavaScript, they follow the OOPS concepts. We create the class, we create constructor, we create object, and we can call the methods of that class like that. So this is a base class, for sure we need to import. We are inheriting that. So if you see, if you see as part of the inheritance, to inherit some other class, we use extends. We are extending one of the base class. This is our current class name. And this export means in some other Lightning Web component, if you want to import this export will allow to import in other component. So it's like that. This is a basic template. Inside that so this is a JavaScript object. So in this object, we have name as one of the so property and value, name and value pair we have. This we are referring here. And also here we are providing some input. So I'm just connecting to that name. By default, it is showing. And here one of the other part is it cannot bind automatically. That means whenever we change, the value won't be reflected automatically into this property whatever we are associating. We have to specially, here we are using onChange event, and we are specially calling one of the function. Okay, so here event means onChange, whenever onChange on which element, right? So event dot target means that element information it will bring. From that, you want label or value or whatever you want, you have to mention. We need the value, dot value, so that the value whatever we enter here will be captured here. That I am assigning to this class level property. Property means variable. So whenever you want to refer any class level property, that should be, we have to use this. For sure, we have to use this. This dot, this is the name of the property. In that, since it is a object, to access this, we have to say dot name. And here I'm just printing. And after that, I think this is to make it as reactive. So that's what we discussed. Okay, let's go back and let's create the Lightning Web Component. Press F1. Lightning Web Component. Here I'll say maybe basics LWC. This our first component. This I'll say LWC basics. And here we follow the camel case, starting with small letter, and after that each and every word is a capital letter. So that is a standard we have to follow. I'm giving that and I'm saving. And if you see left side, so this is a bundle. In general, as part of the bundle, you see HTML, JavaScript, and XML, 3 files. And the other files, suppose I want to apply CSS styles. So by default, they won't generate. Really, if there is a need, we can create. You can create .css file with the same name. We can make use of that. In the same way, SVG file. But as part of the default bundle, they don't generate. Okay, I'll show you. And this is HTML and this is XML. HTML, inside the template, we write all the HTML logic. And XML, to decide after creating this Lightning Web Component, where you want to use home page or record page or app page, or you want to use this as a tab. In general, as part of the ARA component, we inherit some interfaces, ports colon available for all pages like that. Here, we don't have such kind of concept. Here, in the metadata file here, we say is exposed is equal to true. And here we use a concept called targets. I'll show you. Okay, so that is about this file. And this is mainly deals with the JavaScript. So here, this is just like a template. So every time whenever we create LWC component, it imports this module. So module is like a JavaScript file. So yesterday already we discussed as part of the basics. So from this, again in this JS file, there is a class called Lightning element. So since we need this, for sure we should need this to develop the Lightning Web Component. Only we are importing that base class. And we are inheriting that. And this is our current class name. Okay. So inside that, we write the logic. Already we have this logic. Just copy paste and see in server in different places how we can see. And after pasting, it is here. If you see, it is showing something wrong. The reason is we are using one of the decorator called track. So whenever we use that, we have to import. We have to say comma and import that. Okay, so and save it. And UI. So let's copy this, paste here. That's it. And also here, if you see, they are using some of the styles. If you see app, at app, this style is not from Salesforce standard styling library. Okay, so all Salesforce standard styles starts with SLDS. Okay, here the app is not a standard style. In this example, there is a style class. So from here they are getting. From here, they are getting that style information. I want to copy, right? So if you want to just, I'm copying this, and whatever the style is there, I'm copying. But here, we don't have any resource for that. We don't have any file as part of this bundle. If you want to use really, you can click on that folder, click on new file, LWC, whatever the name is there, exactly with the same name, dot CSS. We have to create one file and keep all our styling information in that. Okay, so some background color. So dot app, this is a style class. Okay, so this style class is referred here. I believe you know the basics of CSS. Okay, so that's it. Now let's see how we can see the preview. So previously, to see the preview of this LWC component, for sure we need to deploy this to the server. Once after deploying, then only we can see the preview. But nowadays, Salesforce, they introduce a local development server, LWC local development server. You can make use of that if you don't want to deploy. Before even deploying, if you want to see the preview and continue your development. Okay, so for that, there are some steps to install. Okay, so I kept those steps here. Okay, so there is a video in my YouTube channel. If you want, you can also see that. So high level, these are the steps. First, to install that local development server, we have to update that Salesforce CLI to the latest version. Okay, maybe already, if you don't have latest version, it's better to update with the latest version. For on top of the older versions, this development server cannot be installed. Okay, so that's the reason. For this, so what we need to do, we need to run one of the command called SFDX update. All you need to do is click on terminal and SFDX update. So when you execute this command, your Salesforce CLI will be updated with the latest version. Okay, so already it takes some minutes. Okay, so already I have the latest version. Already I have installed development server. From your side, all you need to do is just enter so that it will update. After that, copy this command and again paste here and execute. So that again it will execute. So like that. Okay, so let me open. I'm not going to again execute. So I think while pasting, I'm doing something wrong. You have to say SFTX and execute. Okay, so when you execute, it will install. Since already I have installed, I'm not executing this. So once it is completed with the installation, so after that, what we can do, we can execute this command, or if you don't like to type the, this command, or if you don't like to type the command, we have that command palette. So from that, so for that, you have to press Control Shift E or F1, or here we have this. From settings, you can open. So here I'm going to execute one of the command called start local development server. You see here, if it is not there, if you are not seeing, then you can type so that you can see. Click on that. It is opening that server. Click on that component. It shows all the available LWC components. I'm clicking on that, and if you see, right, it is showing. So whatever I am typing, right? So same way it is working here. So yeah, so you can utilize this. Suppose what are the other ways, right? We should know about the other ways also, so that so you can continue working easily. So sometimes here, if it is not working, if you want to cross check, so what are the other ways to access this? The other way is we have to deploy. Okay, let's deploy. Go to this folder and right click and deploy. Or going forward, we use this package.xml. Only we include that LWC component name and deploy. Now it is deployed. Go to developer console. So we have Lightning application. If you remember, as part of the ARA components, we created Lightning application also. So in the Lightning application, we can include and we can see the preview. That is one of the other way. Here, whatever existing component is there, I'm commenting. Now our component name is LWC basics. C:, LWC basics. That is our component. Preview. So this is one of the easiest way to see the preview when it is in the development phase. Here also it will work in a same way. Okay, so now if I want to add in some home page or record page, so what is the process? So let's also maybe understand that. I'm opening one of the application. Suppose say I want to show on the home page. Okay, click on edit page. Left side, look for that. We are not seeing that component. LWC basics, that component we are not seeing. Right? So in order to see on home page or record page, wherever, we need to deal with this metadata XML file. Here we have to say is as true. And next part, targets. We have to use targets. And here we have to use target and where you want to show lightning __ home page. So this is one of the target. So due to this, it will show on the home page. Suppose I also want to show on the record page. If you want to show on the record page, copy here. Here we say record, lightning record. So in those two places, it is going to show. So now let's deploy this. Now on the home page or on the record page, it will be displayed. So let's see that is happening or not. So lightning record is not a valid target. So here I have to say record page. Deploy. Now it ran successfully. Now let's refresh. Let's go to this edit page. Because LWC basics, that component you are seeing, right? So this one I can add wherever. So I'm keeping here. Save it. Back. That we are seeing here. Okay. So in the same way, on the record page, suppose say, let me open one of the opportunity. Click on gear icon. Click on edit page. Left side, you are seeing LWC basics. But my requirement is I want to show this only on the account record detail page, not on other objects. Only on the account record page I want to show. For other objects, opportunity cases, I don't want to show. Only for limited objects I want to show. So when you have such kind of requirements, in this metadata file, there is a concept called target config. Okay. So using that, we can. So let's type like this: target configs, target config, and here we have to mention targets is equal to. So which target? Suppose say this record page. I want to limit to the objects. Here we say as objects. Here each and every object we need to keep here. So whatever the objects you want to support, we need to add this. Suppose I also want to support on contact. Only on two objects for this record page. Only for these two objects we are supporting. That is the meaning. So let's deploy and see. I'm going to deploy this entire component. It is deployed. Now on opportunity, it is not going to show. LWC basics, you should not see. Let's refresh. If you see left side, we are not seeing that because we are not as part of the config. We mentioned that it should be available only for the account and contact. Go back. Go to account. Click on edit page. So left side, if you see LWC basics, that component is there, right? So it's like that. We deal like that with this. Okay, these are some of the basics. So different places where we use and all those things. Now let's take one more example in such a way. In general, making a server call, getting the data from the Apex method is one of the common requirement in most of the projects. So I'm going to create one of the data table LWC component. We query from one of the Apex method and see how we can show on the UI. So maybe later, since as part of the demo, I'm just explaining that. Later, we continue with this. Okay, so far we discussed up to this. up to this we discussed, and I think this also we discussed today. Maybe so as part of the continuation, we discuss about if conditions, iterations, and all those things. We'll continue with that flow. So for now, I'm not going with this flow. I'm taking one different example to show you how we can query and from that query from Apex method, after getting the data, how we can show on the UI. For that, so press F1 and create one of the Lightning Web Component. Lightning Web Component. I'll say data table LWC. And here one of the other point is our ARA component name and LWC component name should not be same. Okay, so we think that maybe we created ARA. Here we are creating for LWC so that we can make use of the same name. Okay, that is wrong. If there is a ARA component available with some name, that it will conflict with LWC. Okay, we should not use the same name. Okay, so it should be different. So here I'm giving already there is a component called data table. So there is a ARA component with the name data table. So again here I cannot give like that. So I'm giving the name like this, data table LWC. Enter, enter. To avoid confusion, I'm just closing this visit created bundle HTML, XML. And also every time this meta file we don't type, right? Maybe I'm typing from this. Pasting here. Maybe I want to show everywhere. I'm not using this target config. That's it. We can close it. We don't deal much about that. So this is UI and this is JS. Here we need to develop the logic. So inside this we keep. So now our requirement is we need to bring the data from the Apex method and show here. Okay, that is our requirement. So for that we should have one of the Apex class. So let's create one of the Apex class. Press F1. Create Apex class. Data table LWC controller. And here I'm using, so we have to use @r enabled. Even for LWC also same kind of annotation. Whatever the method you want to call, the method should have @r enabled annotation. I'm using, this is a basic template. So after calling this, suppose I'm going to query on the context, list of context. We should return list of contacts. Here I'll say maybe I'm giving the method name as get contacts. Here return select comma first name comma last name comma email comma mobile phone from contact. Since we are not giving a filter, is a dynamic class limits dot get limit query close. So dynamically it will give the corner limit. At present 50,000. It will return 50,000. I'm limiting to 50,000. Okay, so this is the method. Just deploy this, and we are going to make use of this. So now we have to associate right here, like ARA components or Visual Force. We don't have a concept called controller and connecting to that class. Okay, so directly whatever the method you want from a class, we have to import that. Okay, so for that we need this to import that. use import. So get some name, whatever you feel. Okay, so for the method after importing, you can give from inside this @Salesforce. So we need this apex slash whatever the class name is there dot the method name. Okay, so @Salesforce slash apex slash the class name dot the method name. This is the way how to import. Okay, so now after importing
Hey,
that, yeah.
just three questions. If you have multiple methods in the class, so then you don't need to provide the method name. You can just import the entire class. Is it correct?
No, we
Or
have
you need
to.
to import method by method?
Yeah, we have to import method by method multiple times.
Okay. So each method you will give some unique name, whatever name you want.
Yes.
Import statement. Okay.
Yes. So directly importing class like that is not possible. So
Okay.
here
Got you.
we give the name that is like a method name. So we have to use here and call that. It's like that.
Okay, got you.
Okay. Yeah. So now here there are different ways to make the server call. One of the way is using @wire, one of the decorator. @wire service, one of the decorator. Using that, you can call a method and we can get the data and show on the UI. That is one way. Or there is another way called imperative method call. That means we are not going to use wire service. So we are directly going to call that method and get the information and show. The difference is when we use @wire and whatever the data we retrieve, that data is read-only. So that means you cannot alter that data. If you don't have any requirement to alter the data, just you want to show on the UI, just at that time you can consider using @wire service. Okay, so one of the other important point is when we are using @wire service and try to call the apex method and get the data and show, you should have one of the attribute for the annotation. Cacheable is equal to. So we have to use this attribute. So without this attribute, it cannot bring the data and show. Okay, so but whenever we use this cacheable is equal to true, whatever the data it retrieve and show on the UI, that is read only. So we cannot modify. Just I'm going to show that example now. This should be cacheable is equal to true. Then here I'm going to use that @y. No, I think spelling is wrong. Deploy. Now it is deployed. Now let's go back. And here to use that, so we use @y, @y, and if you give like this, right? The syntax, remembering the syntax and all those things is a big headache for us. Right? So for us, there are some default syntax templates up there. So all we need to do is LWC, and if you see, so you are seeing some of the available options. So in general, those are not just easy to remember and type. So that's why they are providing like this. Here we need wire. If you see as part of the wire apex function. Okay, this is one kind of syntax. Or if you want to go with the simple one, wire apex property. This is a very simple syntax. Right? and this is just there is a concept called Lightning Data Services. So as part of that, how we get the information. So those different options are there. For us, this is better, or this will also work. Okay, so if you give like this, it's a basic syntax. So here the method name. Here whatever the name will give, that one. Here, if you are providing some of the parameters, we have to provide those parameters. For now, we are not providing any parameters. We will see going forward how we can pass the parameters and removing that, which is optional. And this is the name. So the whatever the method returns, that response will be stored here. So maybe here I'll say contacts info like this. And now here, if you see, this won't hold the exact response whatever it is returning. It's not that we see all contacts in this. Internally, it will be having two properties. One is data, the other one is error. Okay, whatever the data is there, whatever it is returning, this information will be there in this contact, maybe let's say contact info dot data. In that it will be there. Dot error means the error information will be there. Okay, here we are not handling in such a way. So simple way we are getting and having this. Okay, now all the information will be here along with that. So now let's see how we can show as a table. For that, go to this component library. We have some of the standard components. Wherever it is possible, we have to make use of the standard components. There is a standard data table. So I'm going to make use of that for this example. So make sure to go see under Lightning Web Components. So we also have ARA, right? ARA, we are not working on ARA now. Now we are working on Lightning Web Components. Click on that, go to data table. Click on data table. So I'm going to make use of this basic example. Copy this. This is a standard component. They are expecting data and the columns, two properties, two variables from the JavaScript. Okay, so from here. So these columns, if you see here in this example, they are also providing the way how they can use. So I'm just copy that, and we make changes as per our requirement. So they are defining this one as a global constant. So constant means once we assign the value, later we cannot change. And this is available globally without this so throughout this JS file. And so here this should be label and this should be the API name. So in our case for contact, we need to show the first name, the API name for the first name. So make sure to follow this, whatever the exact cases also we have to follow. Okay, so here last name, say last name, that is API name. So this I'll say maybe mobile, as a label I'll show as mobile, but internally the API name is mobile phone. So that is a phone type, so I'm keeping that. Next one is email. So this is not URL. If you don't give anything, by default it is a text. And this also I'm not giving, and this is not needed for us. So these are the columns we need. And also those properties should be, it can look into only the properties which are inside that class. Okay, so columns, so this property is at class level, and I'm using columns and assigning those columns. And the data, so this is an array, and here whatever response we get, that we need to assign to this. Okay, so to assign to that, so if you follow like this, so assigning that information to this is difficult. We need to follow like this, where function, if you go with that, so there easily we can get that, and here we can write, you can say this dot data is equal to that. Okay. Suppose say if you don't want to deal with that, so what I'll do, I'm not going to keep this. So directly let me try to access. If it is not working, again I'll show that approach. Okay, so I'm saying that in this con info dot data, in that data will be there. Let's try to access directly from that. So here columns and data con info dot data. Okay, I'm keeping like that. Okay, so that's it. This will make the server call and get the data, so columns, and directly from there I'm trying to refer. So let's see it is working or not. Go to development server. Directly can look into this development server for the preview. This is the local development server. Click on home. Click on data table LWC. It's loading. Okay, so we are not seeing. So that approach is not working. And also when you go like this, so doing error handling and all those things is not possible. So always it's better to go with this type of syntax so that we have more control. So in case of error, we can also track that. So like that. Okay, so let's go with this. So this is name of the method, and this is the name of the function. Viewing, removing this data, I'm defining like this. Now here we have the control. In case of error, we can print that. Right. For now, I'm printing. So we'll also see how we can show some toast messages going forward. Okay, so here I'll say console dot. I'm printing in the log. I'll say error space. You can give plus whatever the error is there, that one, or you can give comma and whatever the error is there, that one. We know about that. So in case if the data is there, suppose say the data also I want to print console.log, and here printing. So now here in general, when you have a string, when you have a dynamic value, we use plus and concatenate, or we use comma and concatenate. But there is other way. Since we are using the modern JavaScript, there is one more other way how we can represent. So we need to use the backtick. There is a symbol you can find under escape button. So this is a backtick or grave accent, something like that people call. Inside that, suppose I want to show the data. Now again plus comma, no need to do like that. Directly inside, wherever you want to give the dynamic representation, we need to use dollar, and inside this we keep. Right? I'm keeping this. But this is a data. which it is getting from the server. If you want to print in a readable way when you see in the log, okay, so we use JSON.stringify. So otherwise it will show as object like that. JSON.stringify, whatever the records, all those records will be in the JSON object. I'm converting that into string and showing. So while printing, we can see the details. What are the exact details of the data? Okay, but here, whatever the data it is getting, this dot data, that means the property which is at class level. This dot data is equal to data, whatever here we're getting. So now on the UI, we have to refer them. We have to refer. Okay. So now let's see. Let's go back. Automatically, whenever we save, this will refresh automatically. Now you are seeing the data. Okay. So it's like that. So same thing in the server. So maybe here data table LWC. So what is our component name? Data table LWC.
I think you missed A. Remove A. It's a typo. Yep.
Oh, so I missed A. Oh.
Data table. No, it's good, I think.
Okay, and one more thing, I think we did not. I think still we did not deploy this to server. We are looking in only in the local development server. This is still not at the server. Okay, and if you want to see whether really it is there in the server or not, there is no way to see here. In developer console, there is no way that the Lightning Web component is there in the server or not. So the other way to cross check whether really it is there in the server or not, click on setup, left side, search for Lightning components. So click on this Lightning components. So here you can see, if you see, you are seeing LWC basics, right? Which is of type LWC, but you are not seeing data table LWC because still we did not deploy it. We are only looking in the local development server. Okay, so let's deploy. To deploy in the package.xml, so we have to make use of this Lightning component bundle. To deploy Aura components, we use this. To deploy Lightning Web components, we use this type Lightning component bundle. So here in this file, I'm commenting everything. So I'm deploying all our LWC components. You can say deploy so that all the Lightning Web components will be deployed. It's deployed. Now let's save it. Not just refresh this, saying it is deployed. data table LWC. Now it is saved. In the same way, so going forward, we'll see how we can apply this pagination and all those things. Okay, so this is one of the example. So far, any questions?
Yeah, so those the columns and data, I think they are the predefined keywords, correct, to hold the columns and the data. Now, if you go to the now if you also go to the JavaScript file,
Yeah,
you are using the columns and the row number 12 and 13. So they are predefined keywords to hold the data on columns, is it?
no, so you can give any name. Suppose say if you don't give as columns, you can give the name as fields. You can give the name as still it will work.
Okay.
So here I can say like this, still it will work. While referring here, I can say records. So this is a standard component. In general, the standard components in ARA, how we represent lightning column data table. Here instead of colon we use hyphen. Okay, and also this data table, since I am referring in the ARA application, I am referring like suppose say inside some other lightning web component, if you are referring this, how we need to give? We need to give like this hyphen data table. Wherever the capital letter is there, again hyphen like this.
Okay.
And also like this, it won't support as part of the LWC. We can just closing and starting tag like this, but in LWC, for sure it expect like this. While referring in other LWC component, this is the way we follow the syntax. Okay, so yeah, this is the LWC component. This is a standard LWC component from Salesforce. So this is the way. It's like that.
Wherever there is a capital letter, you put a hyphen and make it small.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, technically, if you see documentation, they say kebab case. Wherever capital letter is there, we give hyphen.
Okay.
Yeah, if you give everything in small letters, then so no need to do like this. Suppose say data table, you can say C hyphen data table like that.
Okay.
Okay, so now also if you see the result.
I think you have to use the fields in the HTML instead of columns.
Yeah, it's like that. And from tomorrow, in an organized way, again we'll continue. This just try to explain. So one of the example of how we can get from the server.
Yeah, Srini, I have one question. Like, let's say if we want to, get the length of that thing, whatever the records are returning, do we have to use the raw data? Or should we use the data which we assigned over there to get the length or size of that?
So you can say data.length will give the size. Right?
Okay, so it should to assign it first.
Before assigning, also you can check the length. Data.length. Internally, it stores all the records in the array format, array of objects. When you say data.length, it will give the length.
Okay.
Log data size. Suppose say here data.length.
Now, while displaying on the page, we have to declare a variable again, and then we have to displayed there, right?
Yeah, correct. So here, using such kind of expressions like length and those kind of things are not supported. So directly it can read the property value and show.
Okay.
Yeah, it cannot get like a length and such kind of functions using directly on the UI is not supported.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have to bring from the JS.
Okay.
Yeah. So from tomorrow we go in an organized way. So at high level, if you see here, I follow this order. So we follow all those things, all methods like so we have shadow DOM, we have slots, we have different concepts. So I'll explain about all those and also event handling, how we do here, like our component events. Here we have the custom event concept. Like application event, we have pub sub module, one of the concept. So we have Lightning data services, how we can deal with that without writing any Apex code. We can access data and all those things. So we'll discuss in organized way. So from tomorrow, so those are regular sessions. So I'll drop an email. If you are interested, just reply and so that I'll share the updated meeting link from tomorrow. Okay, so before ending, any other questions, let me know. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow. Thank you.
Thanks, bye.